Welcome to the Hot News Channel, where we strip away the noise to analyze today's breaking stories. It is February 1st, 2026.
And, I have to be honest with you right out of the gate. Today feels different. It feels heavy.
Heavy is a good word for it.
Usually when we sit down to do these deep dives, we have our stack of papers, we have our coffee, and we're ready to look at a topic.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the economy, maybe it's a border crisis.
Right, something contained.
Exactly, contained. But today, just looking at the sheer volume of intelligence we have on the desk right now, it feels like the air pressure just dropped right before a tornado touches down.
That is exactly the vibe I'm getting. I'm looking at the stack of reports we have today, and for you listening, this is a massive stack, and nothing is isolated anymore.
No.
We usually talk about sectors, right? Finance over here, foreign policy over there, civil liberties somewhere in the middle. But today, right now, those walls have, they've effectively dissolved. We are witnessing a synchronization of failure.
Synchronization is the key word. We're looking at a convergence point. If you're listening to this right now, I need you to understand that today isn't just another Sunday news cycle.
Not at all.
It isn't just some stuff happened. We are watching a stress test for the entire global order happening in real time.
It really does feel like the dam is breaking on multiple fronts simultaneously. I mean, just look at the timeline. In the last 24 hours alone.
It's staggering.
In the last day, we have seen the geopolitical containment in the Middle East effectively collapse. We have the shattering of domestic civil liberty norms in Minneapolis with federal agents acting with what looks like total impunity.
And then there's the other shoe, the big one.
And perhaps most explosively in the long term, we have the exposure of the global elite's absolute moral rot via these unredacted Epstein files.
It is the game changer scenario. We've discussed this as a theoretical possibility for months now.
We have.
But it's no longer theoretical. It is happening right now. So our mission today has to be finding the hidden truth, the thread that connects the foreign escalation with the domestic suppression.
Because it has to be connected.
It has to be. Why is this all happening on February 1st? Why is the Strait of Hormuz closing on the exact same day a bank fails in Chicago?
And why is the Department of Justice withholding 3 million pages of evidence today?
Exactly. That is the architecture we need to uncover. This isn't a coincidence. It's a system-wide seizure.
Okay, so let's get into the hard data. Because the headlines are screaming, but the details, the specifics provided by our sources, that's where the devil lives.
Always.
We need to headline the key data points we are tracking this hour.
Walk us through them.
First, the Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed today for Iranian live fire drills. That is choking off the global oil supply artery. Instantly.
Instantly. Not tomorrow, not next week, now.
Second, we have confirmation that the first U.S. bank of 2026 has collapsed. It's in Chicago. And that signals the financial contagion is not over.
Far from it. That's just the first tremor.
And third, as I mentioned, while we have this massive dump of Epstein documents, we also have confirmation that 3 million pages are being actively withheld by the Department of Justice, specifically by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche.
And that withholding of documents, I think that's the key to understanding the distraction. But let's start with the most immediate kinetic threat. We have to look at the Persian Gulf, because if you drive a car or heat a home or buy anything made of plastic, your life changed this morning.
Right. Let's go to the global flashpoint. As of today, Sunday, February 1st, we have reports coming in from independent analysts Rachel Blevins and Alexander Mercouris, and they confirm Iran has initiated a massive series of live fire drills,
which have effectively
shut down the Strait of Hormuz.
Now pause for a second. We hear live fire drills on the news and we think, okay, some ships are shooting at targets. We need to explain the geography here for people. The Strait of Hormuz is a choke point.
A tiny one.
At its narrowest, the shipping lanes are only 2 miles wide in either direction.
2 miles? You can practically see across that.
Exactly. So when Iran says live fire drills in a 2-mile wide channel, they aren't just putting up a do not enter sign.
No.
They are flooding that narrow corridor with fast attack craft. They're likely mining the approaches, and they are firing anti-ship missiles into the water. If you're the captain of a commercial oil tanker, or maybe more importantly, if you're the insurer of that tanker at Lloyd's of London, you look at that water and you say,
absolutely not.
Not a chance.
That's the mechanism, isn't it? It's the insurance.
It is always the insurance.
Yeah.
You cannot run a super tanker through a live fire zone without insurance. So the physical flow of oil, and we're talking roughly 20 to 30% of the world's supply, has just been severed.
It's an economic heart attack.
That's exactly what it is, an economic heart attack for the West.
But here's the detail that really gave me chills. It isn't just Iran acting in isolation anymore. We've seen them do drills before. This is different. Rachel Blevins is pointing out a very specific change in the lineup.
The coalition. That is the new variable in the equation, isn't it?
We are seeing reports that this is a joint operation. China has dispatched several of its advanced destroyers to the region.
Okay, so that's a huge escalation.
A huge one. And Russia is coordinating joint naval drills right next door in the Gulf of Oman and the Indian Ocean. So this isn't a rogue state acting up. This is a coalition.
This is the BRICS security architecture, moving from paper to practice. For years, we've heard about BRICS as, an economic alliance, a banking alternative.
Right.
Today, they are showing their teeth as a military alliance. They're sending a message to the White House, a very clear one. If you touch Iran, you aren't just fighting the Ayatollah. You are risking a collision with two nuclear superpowers.
And yet, look at the American response. It's almost as if they're not getting that message. We have reports, specifically from the Wall Street Journal, that Donald Trump has demanded plans for a swift, decisive attack.
A swift, decisive attack.
To force Iranian capitulation, he is looking for a knockout blow.
Which brings us to the delusion. And I don't use that word lightly, but you have to look at the military reality on the ground. Trump thinks he can replicate the Soleimani strike from his first term. A quick hit, immediate victory, and then de-escalation.
But the Iranians have spent the last year doing what?
Digging in. Literally.
This is the pickaxe mountain intel, isn't it?
Yeah.
We have analysis from Jackson Hinkle and others pointing to new Israeli satellite imagery.
Right. Remember June 2025? It wasn't that long ago. Trump did a victory lap. He told the world Iran's nuclear facilities were obliterated.
Mission accomplished. I remember it. It was a huge talking point.
Well, Jackson Hinkle is showing us new Israeli satellite imagery that proves that was, let's call it a massive exaggeration.
An exaggeration, to put it mildly.
Pickaxe Mountain construction is accelerating. These are mysterious new underground sites that are reportedly deeper and larger than Fordo.
For the listener who isn't a bunker expert, can you explain deeper than Fordo? Why does that detail matter so much?
It matters because Fordo was already built into a mountain to survive conventional airstrikes. It was considered almost untouchable. So if these new sites are deeper, they are immune to almost everything in the U.S. conventional arsenal. You cannot bomb a mountain into submission with a swift strike unless you go nuclear.
And that's not on the table.
You would hope not. And that is why Trump is boxed in. This is the psychological component of this crisis. If he attacks now, he is tacitly admitting that his victory lap in June of 2025 was a lie.
He has to admit he didn't obliterate their capabilities, he just drove them deeper underground.
Precisely. And if these new sites are active, as the imagery suggests, then a swift, decisive attack is a complete fantasy. You need a sustained campaign. You need boots on the ground. And that means World War III.
And the Iranians are signaling that they know this. They know the U.S. is hesitant. We have a quote from Professor Said Mohammad Marandi from the University of Tehran. He's a very connected voice.
He is.
He's stating clearly that the Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, has issued a new directive.
And what's the directive?
Any attack, and this is the key part, even a symbolic one by the U.S., will result in an all-out regional war. No more exceptions.
That symbolic part is crucial. In the past, there was this sort of choreographed dance, wasn't there?
Right.
The U.S. would hit an empty warehouse, Iran would fire a missile into the desert, and everyone would declare victory and go home. Marandi is saying that era is over, the dance is finished.
We also have a specific threat coming from Ali Larijani, who is a Hamas advisor. He's warning that Iran will strike the heart of Tel Aviv if Trump launches another attack.
So the stakes are maximum.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv. Not the Golan Heights, not a border post. The city center.
And we're seeing reports from Tehran that this isn't just rhetoric, it's not just talk.
What are we seeing on the ground?
Subway stations in Tehran are being converted into bunkers as we speak. Today, they are stockpiling food and medicine.
Which proves they're not bluffing. You don't shut down your public transit system to turn it into bomb shelters unless you genuinely believe a strike is imminent. They are preparing for what they call a 12-day war scenario, or something worse.
They're battening down the hatches.
They are. But here's the debate point I want to raise with you. I think the U.S. strategy, or what passes for one, is fundamentally flawed here. We have this armada moving from the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean, specifically the aircraft carrier Eisenhower.
Right. It's moving out of the Gulf. Now, most people would see that as a deployment, wouldn't they? Getting into position for a strike?
No, I think you have to look closer. A carrier in the Persian Gulf is a sitting duck. It's a floating coffin in a narrow body of water that is just swarming with those drones and fast attack boats we talked about.
It's too constrained.
It's a death trap. So moving it to the Indian Ocean suggests to me that the Pentagon knows they're vulnerable. It is a tactical retreat, masked as a maneuver.
A retreat? You really think so?
Absolutely. If they felt they could control the strait, they would park that carrier right there to keep it open. Leaving the Gulf means they have effectively ceded control of that water to Iran. Alexander Mercouris calls this a war of nerves. But I think we are past the nerve stage. We are in pre-war mobilization.
It feels like everyone is just waiting for the first shot to be fired. And while the entire world is watching the strait, the domestic situation here in the U.S. is deteriorating just as fast.
Yes.
But before we even get to the domestic crackdown, we have to unpack the other massive story breaking today, the Epstein files.
This is the story that connects it all, isn't it? It connects the geopolitical chaos to the moral rot of the entire leadership class. And frankly, it's probably the reason why the administration might want a war.
A distraction.
Nothing distracts from a scandal like a missile strike.
So we have had a document dump, 2,700,000 pages. That sounds massive. It sounds like transparency. Look, we gave you everything.
It's designed to sound that way.
But the real story, according to multiple analysts we're following, including George Galloway and Keith Edwards, is what is missing.
There's always a catch, isn't there?
Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, is withholding 3 million additional pages and files, more than what was released.
So they released less than half the material. This is what intelligence communities call a limited hangout.
Break that down for us. What exactly is a limited hangout?
Okay, so imagine you're caught in a massive crime. To save yourself, you confess to a smaller but still shocking crime. You give the public just enough information to satisfy their bloodlust, to make them feel like justice is being done, but you hold back the nuclear material.
The stuff that could bring down the whole house.
You hold back the files that would actually collapse the government or the banking system. Todd Blanche isn't protecting victims here. He is protecting the structural integrity of the elite power base.
But even what they did release, I've been reading through the analysis from Keith Edwards and Brian Tyler Cohen, and the details are, they're stomach-turning.
They are.
And we have to be specific here, because hiding from these details is how this was allowed to happen in the first place.
Go on. We need to face this.
Okay. According to reports analyzing these newly unredacted files, there are specific allegations against Donald Trump surfacing. One alleges that Trump paid a 13-year-old for sex acts back in 1984.
1980.
Another report details these so-called calendar girl parties at Mar-a-Lago, where women were essentially auctioned off.
And the timeline matters. 1984. That's decades of alleged behavior. This isn't a one-off mistake, it's a pattern.
But the one that actually made me stop reading for a second involves Howard Lutnick.
The current Commerce Secretary.
Correct. The man running the Commerce Department right now. In a 2012 email exchange found in these files, he is allegedly discussing bringing children to Epstein, and he lists the ages.
What are the ages?
7 to 16.
It makes you nauseous. But you have to look past the horror for a second and see the political implication. If you have the sitting Commerce Secretary implicated in child trafficking emails, you don't have a government. You have a criminal enterprise masquerading as a state.
And it explains the desperation.
It explains why the administration is so desperate to control the narrative. If this gets out fully, if the 3 million missing pages confirm this and worse, the government falls. It's that simple.
But there is also an active cover-up happening in real time. Regarding the FBI tip line, isn't there?
Yes. This is a report from Allison Gill at Midas Touch. She's been tracking a specific FBI tip line summary.
Tell us about that. What was in it?
This was a tip from a woman alleging that a Trump modeling agency was recruiting women who were then trafficked directly to Epstein.
A direct link.
A direct link. And this summary was briefly on the DOJ portal, just for a flicker of time, and then it was pulled down. But the internet is forever. People screen capped it.
So they are trying to scrub history in real time.
They are trying to sever the link. That tip connects the legitimate business front, the modeling agency, to the trafficking ring. That is a RICO case waiting to happen. The fact that the DOJ tried to scrub it shows you that the cover-up is active. This isn't past tense. They're covering it up today.
And then we have the Elon Musk revelations. This is explosive because Musk has spent years posturing himself as this anti-establishment crusader. He's the guy freeing the bird at Twitter.
Or trying to convince us he is.
But the emails from 2012 and 2013, They tell a very different story.
This is where the mask slips, isn't it?
It seems so. We have an email where Musk asks Epstein, quote, "What day will be the wildest party on your island?"
The wildest party. Not can we discuss philanthropy.
No. He also mentions that Tula, who we believe was his wife or partner at the time, would be with him. But here is the weird part. Epstein replies with some code about UN diplomats being there, and Musk's reply is just bizarre.
What does he say?
He replies with this strange list of his own resume, talking about his kung fu practice and engineering work as reasons he might be too busy.
Scoffs kung fu practice. It reads like bad spy fiction. I mean, even Epstein mocks him for it in the reply, doesn't he? He replies asking if Musk thinks he's stupid.
He does. So what is Musk doing there? What's the point of that strange email?
He's trying to create a paper trail. He's building plausible deniability. He wants the party. He wants the access to whatever was happening on that island. But he's trying to write the email in a way that if it ever leaks like it just did, he can say, oh, I was just talking about engineering. It's transparent.
So what's the implication now?
Well, let's connect the dots. Musk asking for the wildest party destroys the narrative that he was just a casual acquaintance asking for fundraising. He was seeking the lifestyle. And my debate point here is this. Is Musk compromised?
That is the trillion-dollar question, isn't it?
Look at his actions today. We'll get to Ukraine later in more detail, but Musk is making decisions that align perfectly with the interest of authoritarian regimes. Is he doing that because of ideology? Or is he doing that because there is compromising material in those 3 million missing pages?
Leverage.
When you see the richest man in the world asking a known trafficker for the wildest party, you have to ask what leverage exists.
It certainly reframes his involvement in global politics. And speaking of leverage and suppression, let's move to the domestic front. Because while the elites are scrubbing their emails, regular citizens are facing a crackdown on the streets.
This brings it all home, literally.
We have a situation in Minneapolis that is rapidly spiraling out of control. This is being called the blizzard of 2026, but the weather's just the backdrop, isn't it?
It provides the cover for the operation. Low visibility, fewer witnesses.
We have the killing of 2 people, Renee Good and Alex Prey, by IC agents. Now, the administration, led by Kristi Noem at DHS, came out swinging. They immediately labeled the victims as terrorists.
Terrorist is a magic word, isn't it? Once you label someone a terrorist, you strip them of public sympathy. You retroactively justify the use of lethal force.
But here is the problem for Kristi Noem. We have eyes, we have video. Jamie Raskin and others have highlighted that the video clearly shows Alex Prey.
What does it show?
It shows that he was a nurse. He was a concealed carry permit holder, and he was holding a cell phone. Not a weapon, a cell phone. Yet he was shot.
This is what Tyrell Palmieri calls the heated iced of sense. But really, it's the lying eyes strategy. You have government officials going on television looking straight into the camera and telling you that what you see with your own eyes on that video isn't what happened. They are demanding you disbelieve your own senses.
And Alex Prey was a concealed carry holder. He was, by all accounts, a law-abiding citizen exercising his Second Amendment rights. Yet he was shot on sight by federal agents.
And this is where the Civil War rhetoric from people like Marjorie Taylor Greene becomes so deeply ironic. I listened to her interview with Kim Iverson. She's talking about how the political-industrial complex is fueling a civil war to drive donations.
Which, she's not wrong about the donation part.
No, she's not. But look at the hypocrisy. You have the administration deploying what are essentially federal paramilitary squads, ICE, into a blue city, Minneapolis. They are shooting citizens who are legally armed, and yet the so-called defenders of the Second Amendment are either silent or cheering it on because the victims have been conveniently labeled terrorists or agitators.
It's a complete inversion of their supposed principles.
A total inversion. And the analysis from our sources suggests this isn't about immigration. Minneapolis doesn't have a massive immigration crisis compared to border states.
So why there? Why Minneapolis?
No, this is a deployment exercise.
Yeah.
This is Gestapo tactic. And I know that's a heavy word, but it fits the methodology. They are testing the population. Can we deploy federal agents to a hostile political territory, a blue city, execute citizens in the street, label them terrorists, and get away with it? If they can do it in Minneapolis in February 2026, they can do it anywhere in November 2026 for the midterms.
It's voter suppression.
It's voter suppression via terror.
And they are targeting the people who are trying to report on it.
We have confirmed that Don Lemon was arrested on Thursday night while covering these protests.
That is the Rubicon crossing. Jim Acosta called this out, and he's right. When you start arresting high-profile journalists, not just independent streamers, but guys who have been anchors on major networks, you are criminalizing journalism. You are testing the waters to see if the First Amendment still holds any weight at all.
And it gets more dystopian than that. We have a report from Lee Camp about a procurement request from ICE.
Yeah.
For a new weapon.
What kind of weapon?
They are requesting weapons that fire stinging nettles at eyeballs. Wait, just repeat that for me. Stinging nettles.
That is the phrasing. Weapons designed to fire irritants specifically at the eyeballs to cause permanent blindness.
Pause on that. Really think about what that means. Police usually ask for crowd control, tear gas, rubber bullets, things that hurt but you recover from. When a government agency requests the ability to permanently blind its own citizens, they have declared war on their own population.
It's not policing anymore.
That isn't policing. That is maiming. That is terror. The message is, resist us and you will never see again.
It ties directly into the militarization of domestic forces. And while all this is happening on the streets, the institutions themselves are decaying from the top down.
Right.
We have a bizarre story coming out of Georgia involving the Director of National Intelligence.
This is one of those stories that would be the lead headline in any normal timeline, but today it's buried under the war and the riots.
Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI, was physically present at a raid on the Fulton County Elections Office.
The DNI, the head of the spy agencies?
Physically present at a county election office to seize 2020 ballots.
Why is she there? I mean, what is the justification?
Well, this is the thing. She has no business being there. The CIA and the DNI are legally prohibited from operating on domestic soil in this manner. Domestic elections are not foreign intelligence.
So what's the pretext?
They are justifying it with a conspiracy theory. Senator John Ossoff and Congressman Jim Himes have pointed this out. The administration is using the old Leonardo SPA Italian satellite conspiracy theory.
I remember that one.
The idea that Italian satellites flipped votes in 2020, they're using that to justify a national security intervention.
Think about the mechanics of that. It's diabolical. They're using a debunked internet theory to create a legal pretext. They claim foreign interference via Italian satellites, which gives the DNI jurisdiction to enter a domestic building and seize local election data.
What does this mean for the next election?
It's a prelude to 2026 election interference. By normalizing the presence of the DNI in a county election office, they are signaling that the next election will be secured by the military and intelligence agencies, not by local officials. It is the death knell of independent elections.
And while they raid election offices, the financial system is starting to crack. We have a report from World Affairs in Context confirming the first U.S. bank failure of 2026.
And where is it?
Metropolitan Capital Bank and Trust in Chicago has collapsed.
And Chicago is a major financial hub. This isn't some small community bank in the middle of nowhere. This is a bad sign.
Sean Fu's analysis is critical here. He points out that the Treasury's much-hyped stablecoin plan, the Besant plan, is failing.
The Besant plan was supposed to be the savior, wasn't it? The idea was to use crypto stablecoins to prop up demand for U.S. Treasury bonds.
But it's not working.
No, the market isn't buying it. At the exact same time, BRICS nations, led by China and Russia, are moving aggressively to cancel the U.S. dollar in their trade. The de-dollarization is accelerating.
So connect the dots for us. How does a bank failure in Chicago connect to a warship in the Gulf?
The U.S. financial system is fragile. We have a massive derivatives bubble, our national debt is spiraling, and the Besant plan isn't working. The bank failure in Chicago is a tremor. The administration knows the economy is on the brink.
Yeah.
What do empires do when the economy is crumbling and the populace is restless?
They go to war.
They go to war. The escalation in the Strait of Hormuz is likely, in part, a massive distraction from the economic rot at home. It's the classic wag the dog scenario, but this time it's with nuclear stakes.
Speaking of war and distractions, let's look at the other major front, Ukraine. Today, February 1st, marks the end of the energy truce between Russia and Ukraine.
And that truce ending is catastrophic for Ukraine. Russia had been, for a time, holding back on striking certain energy infrastructure. That agreement is gone. It's going to be a very cold, very dark end to the winter for Ukraine.
Alexander Mercouris is reporting that Russian forces are advancing rapidly in Donbass. Ukrainian defenses in Zaporizhia are crumbling. And to top it all off, Zelensky is now facing a corruption probe regarding stolen energy infrastructure funds.
So the whole thing is collapsing from within and without.
But the big news today is Elon Musk again.
Musk is the pivot point in so many of these stories. It's incredible.
Musk has just announced changes to Starlink that prevent the Ukrainians from using it to pilot their drones.
So he's cut them off.
He has effectively cut off their reconnaissance and strike capabilities at the knees, just as the truce expires and the Russian offensive begins.
It is a decapitation of their intelligence capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
Without Starlink, the Ukrainian drone army is blind. They can't spot artillery. They can't track Russian armor. Musk has effectively decided the outcome of this phase of the war with a software update.
And this goes right back to your earlier point about the Epstein files, doesn't it?
Exactly. Is Musk acting out of principle? Or is he being squeezed? Or does he just see the writing on the wall and is aligning himself with the victors? When you have the compromat that we discussed potentially hanging over his head, every single one of these decisions he makes becomes suspect.
And the Western media is struggling to cover this reality. We have a report from Alex Christoforou highlighting a piece in The Telegraph.
Oh, this one is something else.
They are claiming that Putin is sending amputees on crutches to the front line.
Size the clown world reporting. It really is desperate.
Amputees on crutches. I mean, really.
Think about it. Russia is currently advancing on all fronts. They're winning the war of attrition. The idea that they need to send soldiers on crutches is it's absurd. It is a coping mechanism for the Western press. They cannot admit the war is lost, so they invent a narrative where Russia is collapsing from within.
It's dangerous, though.
It's incredibly dangerous because it blinds the Western public to the reality of the situation. It creates a false sense of security, a belief that victory is just around the corner.
It's just like the lying eyes in Minneapolis. Don't believe what you see, believe what we tell you.
Exactly. It is a war on reality itself.
I want to take a step back for a moment and look at the moral dimension of all this. Because all of these things, the war, the trafficking, the blinding of protesters, it all comes from a specific place, a specific mindset.
It does.
We have a powerful interview from ZTO with Yuli Novak, who is the executive director of the Israeli human rights group B'Tselem. They just released a report titled Our Genocide.
This is the heavy lifting. We have to confront this. Novak argues that what we are seeing isn't just a series of war crimes. It is an organized effort to erase a people. And she argues that this effort is supported by all the mechanisms of the state, the courts, the media, the army.
She talks about how a society becomes genocidal and how it doesn't happen overnight. It happens through the normalization of dehumanization.
And that is the link to the U.S. domestic situation. That is why this matters to you, if you're listening in Ohio or Texas. Novak argues that a regime that commits genocide or supports it loses its own legitimacy. The U.S. support for what is happening in Gaza, and now its adoption of similar dehumanizing rhetoric at home.
Calling American citizens terrorists in Minneapolis.
Blinding protesters.
Well,
it shows that the infection has spread.
We are importing the tactics.
We are importing the morality,
Yeah.
or the lack thereof. The blindness, she describes, how an entire society learns to normalize atrocities, is exactly what is happening in America regarding the ICE shootings and the Epstein revelations. We are learning to look away. We are learning to say, well, maybe they were terrorists, or maybe the emails don't mean what they look like they mean.
And for those who don't look away, the consequences are severe. Even here, we have the case of Dr. Mohd Pirzada, which was reported by Katie Halper. He is a Pakistani journalist living in exile here in the U.S.
A dissident. A man who fled his country specifically to be safe here.
He was sentenced to 2 lifetimes in prison in absentia by Pakistan. But it didn't stop there. His home in the U.S. was set on fire. Arson is suspected.
This just reinforces the theme of the day. There is no safe harbor anymore. The long arm of authoritarian regimes, whether it's Pakistan, which is supported by the U.S. administration, or the U.S. administration itself, is reaching into American suburbs. If you are a dissident, if you speak the truth, they will come for you, even in your home in America.
It is a chilling realization. We have covered a lot of ground today. From the Persian Gulf to the streets of Minneapolis to the secret servers of the Department of Justice.
So let's try to synthesize this. Let's try to pull it all together. What does it all mean?
What is the one thing you need to remember from all this? What's the takeaway?
The takeaway is that we are witnessing the synchronization of chaos. The war in the Gulf, the crackdown in Minneapolis, and the Epstein leaks are not separate events. They are a single stress test of the global order. The elite, for lack of a better term, are burning the furniture to keep the house warm. They are initiating conflict abroad and suppression at home because the system, the financial system, the political system is failing. They are trying to hold onto power through brute force and distraction.
And here's a final provocative thought to leave you with. Why did the energy truce in Ukraine end on the exact same day the Strait of Hormuz closed and the bank in Chicago failed? February 1st, 2026. It feels coordinated. It feels like the entire board was reset today. February 1st might be the day historians circle as the beginning of the end of the post-World War II order.
It certainly feels that way. The rules of the game changed this morning. The only question is, are you ready for the new rules?
That is the question. If you found this analysis valuable, if you want to stay ahead of the curve as the world shifts under our feet, hit the plus or follow button on your podcast app and give us a like. Subscribe to the Hot News channel for more deep dives. We will keep tracking the truth no matter how deep it goes.
Until we meet again.
Goodbye.